Welcome to this EDUbrief, sponsored by Telecom Reseller, selecting a unified communications as a service provider. I am Gary Audin. This is an important decision for most businesses because they're moving from their premise-based system to a cloud-based system. There are a number of candidates available, so selection is not straightforward. Let's start off with a definition of unified communications as a service. It is similar in function to a premise-based system, but it has different methodology for procurement, operation, and delivery. So you just can't use the methodology applied in the past to evaluate unified communications as a service providers. When you look at unified communications, the element you should be considering is first telephony with public switch telephone network access. One of the major uses of unified communications today during the COVID-19 pandemic is audio and video conferencing meetings. You also want to have messaging, chat, and other text capabilities. Because of the pandemic, plus the changes in business operations, mobility is an important capability. Not only will you be using your cell phone or desktop phones, you'll probably be using software clients as well. An option offered by some providers is communications-enabled business processes, sometimes called CPaaS. However, not all of them support this. There are provider strengths and weaknesses. Let's start the strengths. You want an integrated solution, not a combination of different vendor support services. Another strength of some providers is customizable short message service, chat, and text-to-speech capabilities. Look for a global footprint. Don't assume you'll always have domestic users and customers. Most of the providers today also offer the service through partners. The number of channel partners that offer the service can be indicative of an attractive service. One of the other things I think is important is user activation of services that's easy and low risk. The weakness list is longer than the strength list. Some of the things you need to look at are customer support that is slow to respond. Since unified communications is made up of multiple elements, you may discover some incomplete functionality from some providers. Some providers also limit the conference size for audio and video conferencing that they support. Availability of 99.99% is what you want. However, several providers have availability numbers lower than that. At least one provider has multiple competing solutions, which makes it confusing of which one to choose. The weakness list continues with some providers having a primary voice focus and not dealing as well with other UC functions. Some providers focus on larger organizations with over 500 users, and others focus on smaller organizations. As with anything, price can be high. Something you may not have thought about is that regulatory compliance may be limited in the liability of the provider of what they will accept. Security has become a bigger consideration. The first of the 5 things I think you should consider is, what is the data center security? Secondly, how the provider employs encryption both in the data center and the network, followed by network security itself. Account access administration security is very important because those with privileged access can make the changes, can be negligent and malicious. You need to make sure administration is as secure as any other part of the service. Continual upgrades can be both positive and negative. Continual upgrades can improve security, but also may be indicative that the security is not as good as it should be because the provider keeps upgrading the operations. When you do evaluate the provider, consider these factors. Do the core services match what you want? Are the management and analytics tools effective? Since you will be moving to a cloud-based service, study how well the provisioning is supported, its risk, and its speed of execution. When you're looking at the provider, consider their financial viability, especially if you're getting service through a third party or partner. And finally, look at the customer service experience. I hope you learned something useful from this EDUbrief selecting a UCaaS provider, and we'll continue to view them in the future.